Hello, Bill Blatch from Bordeaux Gold. I'm in the tasting room here and tasting the 2009 Sauternes yet again, all in a row just to see how they're coming along. But really the object of this little message is to say that say thank you for replying to our survey. We checked our email list and asked everybody whether they would like to have mixed cases of wines rather than whole cases of one wine, and the reply was a resounding yes. So we started doing that, offering you the possibility of doing a mixed case, various wines in one case, and we started stipulating which wines would go into which cases. And then the feedback was, why cannot we choose which wines go in our case? So we instituted a kind of a pick and mix routine, and we've managed to adapt our software to be able to handle single bottles. We've managed to get our warehouse to agree to doing mixed cases, pick and mix all over the place, and we've even managed to get our transporters to agree to do it to European destinations, other European destinations than England, and we've created a very nice golden case to put the wines in. So really, it's up to you. We're confident that you're going to like this, and it's up to you to just pick and mix your own case. We think Sauternes, I quite agree that 12 bottles is an awful lot of one Sauternes to have in your cellar. Why not make it more variable? So have a good time, enjoy making your mixes. It's over to you, but maybe I could just offer a few little suggestions. The first one is that quite clearly in this vintage 2009 there were 4 or 5 wines which are very high priced. And one of the advantages of pick and mix is that you can maybe dilute those high prices by mixing in with some lesser priced wines. So I'm thinking of the high priced wines like Suduro, Coutet, Château de Fargue, Riesec, and soon Clémence and Yquem, and maybe you can mix these with some of the real bargains of the vintage, like Raymond Lafon, Doisy-Védrine, Domaine de l'Alliance, and of course not forgetting the mid-range wines, the wines that came out at the prices we were expecting, Guiraud, Clos-Vaux-Perregay, Laforet-Perregay, Rabot-Promy, Reine-Vignot, Ségales-Rabot, etc. The other thing is you might want to use the mixed case to vary the ageability of the wines. It's awfully boring when all the wines in a case become drinkable all at once. So why not have some wines which are for earlier drinking, like Château Lyotte, maybe some of the bigger wines that were more upfront and obvious to start with, like La Motte Guignard, Château de Myrat, which are wonderful wines, but which are probably going to be at their best in 5 years rather than 50 years. And you can mix these with wines like a Guiraud and the Clos-Vaux-Perregay, which will probably be super drinking in 10 years, and then maybe some Yquem, Clémence, Coutet, Château de Fargue, which will be wonderful in probably 50 to 100 years. So that's just a few ideas. The cases are 12 750 milliliter bottles or 24 half bottles, 375 milliliter bottles. So here we are tasting the 2009s. Maybe I can just say a few words about the things that have come out of this tasting. Here you see the Domaine de l'Alliance, still looking fabulous. It's our little find of the vintage. Super wine. First growth quality at Cru Bourgeois prices. Château d'Arche looking very fresh now. Bastel-la-Montagne still on the lighter side. Chateau Brousteil, still on the, I would say, the slightly heavier style, more of a dessert wine. Chateau Caillou, very lemony and fine. Chateau Cantegril, the wine from Chateau d'Oisy, the other wine of Denis Dubourdieu of Chateau d'Oisy-d'Aisne. Lovely, beautiful, refined texture. La Clope Casalis, a light, fine, slightly more acid tasting Barsac, very refreshing. D'Oisy-d'Aisne, as we've said over and over again, probably the best D'Oisy-d'Aisne ever. Very sweet, but very fine, you don't feel the sweetness. Doisy-Védrine, that lovely sort of minty, almost chewing gum kind of freshness with enormous sweetness. Chateau Fillot, beautiful minerality. Chateau La Motte Guignard, as we said just now, fairly fleshy and forward, extremely satisfying. Won't go 100 years, but going to be great over the next 5. Chateau Lyotte, same way, a little bit less fleshy and more finesse. Of course, it's a Barsac. Chateau de Mal, beautiful success for Chateau de Mal, very fine. It's not a wine that has had the reputation of the top second growths in the last few years. This should really put it back on the map. Chateau de Mira, on the other hand, which did get the acclaim. Chateau de Mira, very full, very rich, 153 grams per litre of sweetness, super wine. This no-name wine is the blend that we're going to use for Chateau Partarieux, blend number 1, Partarieux, which is one of our top lesser wines. Now we're on to the first growths. Clos au Périgueux, wonderful finesse, beautiful finesse and sweetness. Chateau Coutet, Barsac, again, lovely and fresh, incredibly sweet. Super Coutet, this will go down as a legend, I think. Chateau de Fargue, horribly expensive, but horribly good. This is just, tasting it just now, it's just coming from strength to strength. I think it didn't show as well as it should have done in the earlier tastings. It's always a later developer, and it's got another 2.5 years to go in barrel, don't forget. Chateau Guiraud, Guiraud, of course, the more Sauvignon blend. This is a more zippy tasting wine. This is lovely finesse, beautiful fruit, lovely botrytis. Not the sweetest of all of them, deliberately so. But very balanced and really nice. That's a super Guiraud. La Fourie Périgueux, just a little touch heavier, more of a dessert wine, very mineral on the taste, lovely thickness in the palate. Chateau Rabot-Promy has got a lovely tensile sort of acid energy to it, which will make it a lovely aperitif wine, I would have thought. Also, of course, a dessert wine, because it is incredibly sweet. But it's got this lovely acidity, it's lovely freshness coming from that. Raymond Lafon, as we said just now, the deal of the vintage. They made it deliberately so. They wanted to sell their wines on Primeur. It's a big crop. Instead of fooling around by trying to get 10 extra euros, they've really done the job on pricing. This is one where I would just say run, don't walk to buy this baby, and it's going to really turn into something very, very special. Rain Vigneault, a complete turnaround this vintage. Rain Vigneault, very rich, 160 grams of sweetness, very, very fine, very zippy, new management, fantastic wine. I think this is the beginning of a new wave of Rain Vigneault. Probably will get itself gradually a fantastic reputation. And then finally, Sigalas Rabot. Sigalas Rabot, back to the lovely, almost sort of Riesling German style of the 60s and 70s. Beautiful wine, very, very fresh, lovely fragrance of fruit, and yet very, very sweet. The first vintage of Laure, the daughter of Gérard, the owner. So that's the lineup, and we've got a few missing. La Tour Blanche, and there's a few others missing. But anyway, there we are, and I am more and more impressed with this vintage as we go on. Some of these wines were showing less well before and are now really beginning to get some structure. There's a little bit of a 2001 quality beginning to creep into this vintage.